Greetings, ladies and gents, it is I, Scythe Jackal, and welcome back to another tier list where we rank the exclusive games on Nintendo consoles. I should have came up with a better name for that. But anyways, we're going to be doing another tier list based on the exclusive titles for the Nintendo 64. As we all know, I did the SNES, and the Super Nintendo, and the games I ranked on those, which may have been a little mixed to certain people. Like, I remember showing it to someone and people were like, Link to the Past in B tier, Pilot Wings in C tier. If you want to know my further opinion on some of those games, then just go watch that video, link in the description. But today we're going to be ranking the Nintendo 64 exclusive games. So the N64 is a console I didn't grow up with, obviously, because I was not born in the 90s or the 80s. But I've been able to experience many of the great N64 games through the use of both Delta Emulator, the Wii U eShop, the Wii U Virtual Console, and the Nintendo Switch Online service. I'm going to be ranking these games based on my opinion. Not every game is going to have things stated about it, because I haven't played all these games. I've played a solid amount of them, though, and I'm really hoping that you guys enjoy this video. Comment your favorite N64 games below, and let's get into it. The first game we're going to start with on our list is Blast Corps. This is a game by Rare, and it was released in 1997. It didn't do well financially because it released after the winter season, because that's typically when games really sell. And I'm going to give Blast Corps a great tier. It is a great game. It's very fun. It's got a solid amount of content. The sound effects are really good. The music is pretty catchy. And all the different vehicles are really fun to control. And, I mean, come on, it's fun to destroy buildings. The controls are a little weird at first, but then you get used to them, and it's just, it feels so natural. But my only problem with the game is that it feels hard to progress in certain points. Because, you do well on one stage, you get a gold and a bronze medal, and it's like, wow, that's good. Maybe I should have access to the next level. And then you don't have access to it, and I'm like, what? That could just be me not understanding how the game works, because that happens. But for now, I'm going to leave it in great. If not, probably pretty good. Speaking of Rare, Banjo-Tooie is going to didn't play. I planned to play it on Delta Emulator, because I was a huge fan of Banjo-Kazooie. And speaking of Banjo-Kazooie, that is going to be our first masterpiece. Banjo-Kazooie is a phenomenal 3D platformer. It has memorable and in-depth worlds. It has great controls. It is satisfying to play. It has a bunch of really cool moves because you learn them as the game goes on. And like I said, the soundtrack is so good. All the areas in this game, exploring each area, finding the music notes and the jickeys, it's just, it's so much fun. I love it. This is everything a 3D platformer should be, like Banjo-Kazooie. Alright. Castlevania 64, didn't play. I might play it at some point, because I have Delta Emulator, and I'm a big Castlevania fan, but I've heard not so good things about it. Diddy Kong Racing is also going, it didn't play. I want to play it, but I don't know if racing games are really that great on mobile, so we'll have to see. Dr. Mario 64, I give it a pretty good. It's a pretty fun game. It's Dr. Mario. I'm always down for Dr. Mario. It's just Dr. Mario with some Wario Land 3 characters and some slightly better graphics. Nothing special, but it's still a fun game. Doom 64. Oh, you guys know I gotta put a Doom 64 in amazing. I am a huge Doom fan, as many of you know, and Doom 64 is no exception. It's not super action-packed and crazy, hellish, super fast, but it is a very, very well-made game. The atmosphere is intense, it's isolated, it's strange. The monster designs, the demon designs look awesome, and the game itself is it's like a horror game, actually. It's pretty scary because of all the ambience and the environment. It's really well done. And I wouldn't recommend playing the Nintendo 64 version, not because of the controller, but because of the fact that it is so hard to see anything in the original version. I would recommend playing the remastered game on modern consoles, which is like $5. It's an absolute steal. Would 100% recommend Doom 64 to anybody who likes first-person shooters. Okay, Donkey Kong 64. Gonna have to put that in didn't play as well. This is a game I've heard very mixed things about. This game is very mixed. People really love it for what it is. People really love it, but a lot of people really hate it. I'm sure you can find a bunch of videos online about why people don't like DK64. But I gotta admit, all the memes I've seen from this game is quite convincing. But I'll tell you why that I haven't played DK64.
Oh, these are pretty cool bananas.
Okay, I'm sorry for ruining your day with that, but next up is F-Zero X. F-Zero X, more like F-Zero Amazing, because this game is do I like it more than Doom 64? No, I like Doom 64 more. F-Zero X is a fantastic racing game. It is fast, it has a great soundtrack, the racers are fun to play as, all of the tracks are well designed. It's extreme, your vehicle can get destroyed. It's so fun. I'm not even the biggest F-Zero fan. I'm not as in-depth into F-Zero as many other people are. I like the games, but I'm not as in-depth them. I'm not as into them as others are. But I'm hoping that I can get into the other games. But it remains an amazing tier because it truly is an amazing game. Okay, Mystical Ninja. There were 3 Mystical Ninja games? 3? Oh, okay. Jet Force Gemini didn't play. I might play that at some point. Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards. I would give it a great, bottom of great. Kirby 64 is a really good game. It has one of the coolest mechanics in the whole series where you can combine 2 enemy power-ups into one, which leaves so many options for gameplay. My personal favorite is mixing 2 bombs together and getting the missiles. I love that power-up. And the game's soundtrack is great. The bosses are pretty fun. And the gameplay is overall pretty good. The levels are well designed. My biggest gripe with the game is how slow Kirby is. Kirby feels extremely slow in this game. He feels like it feels like I'm piloting a drunk person. That's like how I would describe Kirby. He is so floaty and so slow compared to the rest of the game. And I get they probably had to do that because it might have crashed if they made him fast, but still, it's like one of the slowest Kirby games I've ever played. I recommend it, but it's not as good as other Kirby games. Still a great game, though. Okay. Conker's Bad Fur Day. This is a game I played through all the way on Delta Emulator. And that is getting a masterpiece tier. Above Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Oh, where to begin with this one? I love this game so much. I remember watching PewDiePie play through the game back in the day, and I was like, I want to play that. So I played through it recently. It was amazing. All of the boss fights are great. The game's witty, raunchy, offensive humor is hilarious. The soundtrack is great. There's actually some pretty deep moments in the campaign. The platforming itself is really fun. All the funny, stupid, wacky things you can do in this game. Like 1 second you see just this cute little cartoon squirrel, but then he gets drunk and just starts pissing on these little imps. It's crazy. Sorry about that, but it's honestly insane that this game was made. And I wish that they would do a sequel because it would have been really well done. But we haven't gotten a new Conker game since like 2005. That was almost 2 decades ago. But yeah, Conker's Bad Fur Day is arguably the best game Rare made on the N64. Speaking of best games by Rare on the N64, GoldenEye. So this is a game that I played through once for the first time when it came onto NSO. I played through it while changing controls, and I thought, I liked it. It was cool. I did not appreciate the game fully again until I played it on Delta Emulator, then played it again on console. Oh my gosh. It was awesome. GoldenEye is such a classic. Like, this game is so fun. All of the weapons are fun to use. It's fun to breeze through the levels on any difficulties. All of the stuff that went to this game, the like where you shot the enemy and how it would affect them. You could shoot the gun out of their hands. You had submachine guns, AK-47s. You could aim anywhere you wanted. You had assault rifles, sniper rifles, pistols. You had so many varieties, and all the cheats and the hilariously awesome multiplayer that I played with my cousins, and it was so fun. The music is unforgettable, and it's also based on a really good movie. So, and just to mention, not to mention what this game also did for, like, not only for licensed games, but for Rare and for first-person shooters as a whole, because this was like the first great console FPS game at the time. There wasn't really any other first-person shooters were mostly reigning supreme on PC. You had Doom, Wolfenstein, and of course you had Duke Nukem, but those had console ports, but their console ports were nothing compared to their PC originals. Like, I mean, look at Doom on the Super Nintendo, and then look at it on the PC. It's just not comparable. GoldenEye proved that a console could have really good first-person shooters, and I think it deserves its placement for that. Speaking of GoldenEye, let's talk about its spiritual successor that I beat last night. Perfect Dark is getting amazing above F-Zero X. The voice acting is very impressive. The gameplay itself is heavily smoothed out. There's reload animations, which are sick. There's more. The game's story is very silly, and I love it. It's about aliens, and then there's this Elvis guy alien, and then there's like this other alien race that's like evil, and you have to defeat them. The guns in this game are so weird. There's a laptop gun, there's an alien railgun, there's a gun that kind of shreds the cartridge like paper, but then you just put in another one, and it goes in and out. There's a laser rifle, there's a big laser gun, there's a laser pistol that shoots explosive bullets. It's so weird. Not to mention, like I said, the voice acting is really good, and the game looks great. I definitely recommend Perfect Dark. Just play it on NSO with change control. Up next, we have Mario Party 1, 2, and 3. And to be honest with you guys, I have no thoughts. Like, Mario Party 3 and Mario Party 2 are pretty good. But Mario Party 2 is great, I think. Mario Party 2 is really fun. I just consider it the best out of the three. I don't really have much else to say about Mario Party though. Okay, Mario Tennis. Dang it, stupid cellular device. But Mario Tennis and Mario Golf. Mario Tennis is going to be not my thing. And neither is Mario Golf. I don't really care for these games. I prefer the GameCube Mario and the Wii Mario sports games, like Mario Strikers and Mario Power Tennis and Mario Super Sluggers, but I just don't care for the N64 games. They're not that interesting to me. But this is a game I do really like, Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. Paper Mario is amazing. I prefer Thousand Year Door and Super, but it's still a great game. It's got a great soundtrack, great buddies, and overall it's a great game. Our next game is going to be Pokemon Stadium. I think Pokemon Stadium is pretty good. I don't really have much else to say about it there, though. It's a fun game with a good announcer and some pretty cool animations. But in Pokemon Stadium 2, I'll kind of say the same thing. Oh, but I have to put Mario Party 3 above because that game introduced Waluigi. And yeah, they're pretty fun. Pretty fun Pokemon games. Hey You Pikachu, we don't have to rank because that game is terrible. Pokemon Puzzle League is actually my favorite Pokemon game on the N64 because I like puzzle games. and it was very fun. And I grew up watching the Pokemon anime, so yeah. Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Snap is okay. It's pretty good. It's super overrated in my opinion. It's still fun though, because I used to be a photographer. So, but like it itself just Yoshi's Story, I'm gonna give that an average. I really like the game's art style, and I like the game's music. It's a cute game, but it's way too short and it's way too easy. Super Smash Brothers, the original, is an absolute classic. I'm going to put it in S tier because it started the whole series off, and I love Smash Brothers. It may not be as big as Ultimate or have as great as a first single-player campaign like Brawl, but it's still a great game. It's still fun to go back to, I would say. We're getting down to our last few games. I thought I saw Donkey Kong 64 here. That's so weird. I thought I saw DK60. Oh wait, yeah, you ranked that. Sin and Punishment, a severely underrated game that only released in Japan, is gonna go in the amazing tier. This game was super fun. It has a very nonsensical and outlandish story, some pretty cool main characters, and some overall really, really fun combat mixing laser sword fighting with on-rails moving third-person shooter. The controls take time getting used to, but it's a game I recommend. Definitely a classic and very replayable. Okay, Star Fox 64. Oh man, I might catch some flack for this. I'll put it in great. I really enjoyed it. But I don't get why people consider this to be one of the best N64 games ever. It's a great game, no doubt. It's fun. It's got good voice acting, good music, but really, one of the best. And I think, is Mario Kart on here? I think we're missing Mario Kart. Oh, wow. Okay, so the person making this forgot Mario Kart 64. That's surprising. Everyone who played the N64 knows that game, but Mario 64 by itself is getting amazing. It's a really fun game. It's a little overrated, but it's still really fun. All the levels are memorable. Mario feels great, and the music is great. Very memorable. And since it's not on here, I'm going to say Mario Kart 64 gets a masterpiece tier. Because, yeah, the game hasn't held up in certain aspects, but it's still an absolute blast to play. And that's coming from somebody whose favorite game is Mario Kart 8 and Wii. Those are my favorite games in the series. I should do a ranking of Mario Kart games at some point, though. But yeah, Mario Kart 64 is still really fun, especially with friends. And the last two games on our tier list today will be The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Okay, now, listen. I may have a few controversial opinions, and I know I'm going to get heavily flagged for this. And you're probably going to click off the video seeing this, but this is my opinion. Here's what I have to say about Ocarina of Time. It's not a masterpiece. To be honest with you guys, I mean, I've been honest this whole time, but Ocarina of Time is a great game with a pretty good story, fun gameplay, some solid dungeons, and an amazing soundtrack. But the greatest game of all time, really, there are much better Zelda games out there, in my opinion, than Ocarina of Time. As much as I like Ocarina of Time, it's a game, it's not as good as the other Zeldas, in my opinion. It's not a bad game by any means, but I think it was, ignore that, I think it was more of a successor or a predecessor to what was to come. Like, what came after was just better. Wind Waker was better. Majora's Mask was better. Those were all better, in my opinion. Twilight Princess was better. We'll talk about that game one day. But Ocarina of Time is a great game. but I just don't get why it's considered the greatest game of all time. I really enjoyed all of the dungeons except for the water temple, because I played the original, and I also didn't like the forest temple. The forest temple had good atmosphere, but it took way too long. Still a fun dungeon, I guess. I don't like most of the bosses in this game. The only bosses in the game that I liked were Volvagia, Bongo Bongo, Ganon, and the Witch. All the other bosses were either mediocre or I hated them. Like Jabu Jabu is literally one of the worst boss fights I've ever fought in a video game. But yeah, it's an amazing game, but it's nowhere near the greatest game of all time. But Majora's Mask, our final game, which was one of the last first-party Nintendo games, is going to go in S tier above Conker's Bad Fur Day masterpiece. Majora's Mask is the greatest game on the Nintendo 64. Its dark, brooding story, its memorable and engaging side quests, its really fun progression and gameplay. All of the dungeons are fun. All of the boss fights are fun, except for Georg. We don't talk about him. But the final boss is epic. The soundtrack is epic. The game's super dark atmosphere is great. The time warp mechanic is actually really well done and really well balanced. I should do a video on this game, but it is wonderful. It's like in my top 3 Zelda games of all time. Top 2 Zelda games. It's that good. And the mask mechanic is so well done. All the masks are fun to use. That's about all I have to say. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what console you want me to rank next. It'll probably be the GameCube. But thank you for watching, and Scythe Jackal out.